All right, MMA Sucka Church, MMA Church live Sunday morning. Oh, technical difficulties galore there with the old version of Ecamm, or the new version of Ecamm. The beta did not like my computer. It made me feel like shit. But we're here. The show must go on. Head on over to the description section below and check out Ecamm Live. Obviously, the new beta is not handling my computer well, but it might handle your computer well. And this streaming software is the best on the market. You can do everything with it. You can stream, you can record, you can do it all. Check out Ecamm Live in the description below. Also, Sweet Success. Check them out on Instagram. They are also in the description section below. I'm sure if you're in the Lower Mainland, Vancouver, they deliver with Skip the Dishes, and they are an amazing company that is guilt-free donuts that you can have in the comfort of your home and not feel bad if you're on a diet or you're working out or you're doing all this other stuff and trying to gain. Well, guess what? Sweet Success is the company for you. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, do that all that other jazz to the MMA Sucka YouTube channel. We're hunting for 25,000 subscribers. We're at just over 24,000 now. Thank you for joining me. We will talk UFC on ESPN 42. We will talk Battlefield Fight League 75, which I was in attendance for this past week. And I won't drag you on too long. This might be a very short and sweet stream. Heck, it might only be 10 minutes. Who knows? But we're here. I'm on day, let me see, 48 of 75 hard, grinding and pushing and doing what I have to do for 75 hard. But let's get into yesterday. Amazing event yesterday, UFC on ESPN 42. The main event, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Holy crap, did he look good. Kevin Holland looked like he was going to get the job done early in the first round, and Stephen Thompson ended up pulling back, utilizing his striking. His longest limb, his kicks was what he used the most, landing spinning kicks, landing head kicks, landing straight punches to Kevin Holland. And at the end of round 4, in between round 4 and 5, his corner called a stop to this fight, broke his hand early, but the show went on. Stephen Thompson looked as good as ever. For the old man in there, He made us proud. Rafael dos Anjos defeated Brian Barberena in the second round via rear naked choke. Another amazing performance by the former champ. Mateus Nicolau defeated Matt Schnell, knockout in round 2. Amazing performance by him. Schnell had a difficult weight cut, had to shave his head to make the weight. Then these guys, my oh my, Sergey Pavlovich, knocking out Tai Tuivasa just 54 seconds into the very first round. Pavlovich is a force to be reckoned with. Heavy hands. Obviously, Tai likes to throw and bang. He gets in there, does what he has to do, and shows that he either goes in there for a kill or be killed sort of attitude. Roman Dolidze and Jack Hermanson, that was a fight that we talked about last week on the show, and we tried to go over who we thought would win that match as it was a last-minute replacement. Both of us chose Jack Hermanson just because he's been in 5-round fights before. He's been a guy who has had the cardio. He's been a guy that's had the striking. He has the submissions. He's got it all. But guess what? Roman Dolidze, holy crap, a wicked calf slicer transition to come up, flatten Hermanson out, and just ground and pound him from the back. His face was excruciating pain from that calf slicer as he came up, and then he flattened him out and was able to get the job done via TKO. Eric Anders, everybody counted him out against Kyle Daukaus, everybody but himself, obviously, and he got the job done in round 3 via TKO. Daukaus didn't want any part of the stand-up, kept falling down to his back. He was hurt. There was an incidental headbutt, but amazing performance overall by Eric Anders. He didn't want to leave this one in the judges' hands, so he came forward, kept pushing the pace, kept doing what he had to do to survive, and he ended up finishing the fight. For you guys that are listening, what was your favorite fight on the UFC on ESPN 42 fight card? Because it was a fun one. The prelims were great as well. There was obviously one earlier this week and one 164 as well. One on Prime, one 164. I'm not going to talk too much about those. I know the MMA Sucka podcast with Fraser Crone and Tim Wheaton will probably be covering all of the ins and outs of numerous fight cards from this past weekend and moving forward to next week. So I'll let them break everything down. I'm going to talk about Battlefield Fight League 75. It was an event live here in Vancouver that I was able to head to. It's a fight card and a fight promotion that I've been a part of since the very first event, Battlefield Fight League 1. This marked the 75th event, and it didn't disappoint. It was initially supposed to have something like 19 fights on the card, and I was dreading being there because I thought I wouldn't be out of there until about midnight. But a couple fights dropped out due to missed weights. A couple fights dropped out prior to that. So we ended up with, I think, 16 or 17 fights total on the card. There were amateurs. There were 2 post-limbs. But the main card delivered in impressive fashion. Former UFC fighter Matt Dwyer was on the card. A bunch of undefeated guys were going head-to-head, and it was just an impressive fight card overall. There were 0-0 guys, amateurs, that were making their debuts, and it was just a fun night all in all down at the Harbor Event Center in downtown Vancouver. But let's go over the card itself. The main event, Heavyweight Championship, Kyle Machado, this guy fighting out of FKP MMA with Chris Franco, Jaden Martin. These guys are producing some serious talent in Kyle Machado. They've got other guys fighting out of the stable, but Kyle Machado had the shot at going to Dana White's Contender Series, but unfortunately, visa issues, I believe, came into play and did not allow him to do that. So he's fought a couple times since that Dana White Contender Series, and he's continued to grow in the sport. His last 2 fights, he's won via armbar submission. For a guy early in his career, he didn't necessarily show the greatest ground game. He didn't show a lack of a ground game, but his transitions weren't as smooth as they are now. In this fight, he was able to get the Edison Lopez, who's fought for a number of promotions. He's also Francis Ngannou's training partner for the Cyril Gane fight. And Kyle was able to take him to the ground. He grappled with him. He took him down. He ended up getting a high mount right underneath the armpits. Both arms were exposed, and he was able to transition into an arm bar from there in the very first round. Now, Edison Lopez is a black belt. Both guys that Kyle has submitted in his last 2 fights have been black belts. Kyle Machado just got his brown belt, and he's submitting high-level black belts in MMA. This one happened with 1 second left in the first round, and he was able to get Lopez to tap. Very, very impressive. After the fight, in his post-fight speech, they asked him what he wanted next. And guess what? It's another crack at getting inside the octagon in the UFC. Hopefully this guy doesn't have to go through Dana White's Contender Series again, because he's proved since that shot that was missed because of visa issues that he's able to continue to win. The guy's looking as impressive as ever. He's sleek, he's athletic, and at the heavyweight division, he is definitely a force to be reckoned with. The name Kyle Machado needs to be listened to, needs to be seen, and if you have UFC Fight Pass, head on over to Battlefield Fight League, search the name Kyle Machado, watch his last few fights. Everything is highlight reel fashion. The co-main event, former UFC fighter Matt Dwyer stepped back inside the Battlefield Fight League cage in I don't know how long. This guy was on Battlefield Fight League 1. He's also a Battlefield Fight League Hall of Famer. Stepped in there against a guy who's fought for 1 championship, but he has been inactive for the last 3 years, Christoph Van Dijk. This guy, holy crap, black belt in judo, super high level, and he was able to take Matt Dwyer down to the canvas at ease any chance he got. These foot sweeps that he had, where he was just literally tied up with Dwyer, and foot sweep, boom, foot sweep, boom, dropped him to the canvas. He had this wicked judo throw in the first round, and Dwyer's not a short guy, so it looked like a tree falling down when he shot him to the canvas. Impressive fashion. Christoph Van Dijk won the interim middleweight championship by head kick knockout in the second round against former UFC champ Matt Dwyer. Now, Jared Revell, who is the middleweight champ at Battlefield, who's been outside the promotion fighting for a different promotion, also on UFC Fight Pass LFA, was there to put the championship around Christoph's waist. He is the interim champ. They asked him if he'd like to unify the championship by fighting against Jared Revell. And the guy just said he wanted to go drink beers with his team. Didn't know what he wanted to do. Wanted to prove to himself after 3 years that he was still able to fight. He did that on Thursday night, but he didn't want to unify the belt. So that was very interesting in my part. Is he scared of Jared? Who the hell knows? But he doesn't want to step back in there. And Jared doesn't want to relinquish the title because he could get back in there and still get the job done. Saeed Mirzai, a guy who's been fighting for years as well. He's an amateur champion. He's fought the who's who in the pro division. And now he took on Hamza Salim, who's a Bellator veteran. And he earned a 51-second knockout. Saeed is a guy, who knows? He gets in there, gets the job done when his head is in the right space, and he's able to do it against the best of the best. This guy is top-notch talent, and when he comes in there and he's ready to rock, you got to be on the lookout. Saeed Mirzai is another name to look out for. Also on this main card, I'm not going to go over every fight. There was a no contest. There's a split decision. The first fight ended in a TKO on the main card, but a guy who everybody also needs to look out for is Gagan. This guy has rocks, hammers for fists. He looked to be in serious danger against Ryan Rohovich on the ground. At one point, there was a guillotine. There was something else, I believe, but he was able to withstand it. There's no quit in Gagan. He's been on the fight scene in British Columbia for years, and he's able to knock out Ryan Rohovich at 4 minutes, 54 seconds into the very first round. Very, very impressive stuff at Battlefield Fight League 75. Again, if you have UFC Fight Pass, you can watch the entire card there. The preliminary card, the undercard, was live on YouTube, so you can head on over to YouTube after you're watching this and check out Battlefield Fight League 75 preliminary card. I have absolutely nothing else to talk to you about. So, make sure you check out the description below. Ecamm Live, sweet success. Make sure you check out Battlefield Fight League 75 on YouTube. If you want to check out the highlights of UFC on ESPN, check that out. I'm Jeremy Brand. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, we're hunting for 25K. We're at just over 24 right now. So make sure you subscribe. As I said, 90% of you guys out there that are watching this are not subscribed to the YouTube channel. So click that subscribe button. This is MMA Church. I'm Jeremy Brand. We're out.